everybody starts at nothing, right? Everybody started at zero, and worked their way up, everybody. So you're not just going to walk into a situation where now you just know everything, you're super confident. No, everybody walks into the same situation of, not necessarily knowing everything or being confident, and you have to face those fears, right? You have to you have to lean into those actions that make you nervous, right? And you have to become numb to that feeling. And then you have to power through it and just keep moving through the actions that are going to get you where you want to be.
Welcome to the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow, where we get inside the minds of today's leading viral marketers as they reveal the exact strategies they use to build brands, products, and campaigns that are magnetic to customers, spread like wildfire, and seize the attention of millions. This is Viral by Design.
Welcome to another episode of Viral by Design. Today, we're very fortunate to be joined by Ricky Carruth. Ricky is a top real estate agent in Alabama. He's a business owner, real estate coach, and also number one real estate agent on the Gulf Coast, which is a title he picked up back in 2014 and has retained up until this point. He's an author, speaker, coach. He helps real estate agents to reduce their failure rate through building solid relationships. So, Ricky, that's a really great place to start, and that's something which is really huge to marketing and what most of our audience are really interested in. How do you build those really solid relationships? How do you nurture those relationships and turn them into sales?
Yeah, for sure, man. So thanks for having me. I mean, that as far as relationships in business, I like to think of it as there's not really a huge difference in the way you should be treating the relationships outside of business and the relationships you have inside of business, right, with your clients and customers. So for me, the overall psychology behind it, the philosophy behind it is, we're not too much interested in necessarily the deal, right? The transaction, the closing, the contract. That's not necessarily the goal. That is literally a byproduct of you taking care of someone. Okay, when you approach someone, regardless of what industry you're in, your job is to let them know who you are, what you do, and that you're here to help. And so you have this skill, right? You do this certain thing so that you have a skill. So like for me, it's a real estate agent, right? So I help people buy and sell real estate. So it's like, hey, I'm Ricky Carruth. I'm with this company and I help people buy and sell real estate. Is there anything I can do to help you? And so people know who I am, what I do, and that I'm here to help. And through that, it's a completely different approach than most people, right? Most salespeople, most trainers, most coaches, because they're training you to try to figure out how to get the customer to do the deal. They're trying to figure out how to turn the situation around if they don't want to do the deal, or handle the objections, or try to figure out what it is that we need to do to get them to move forward. Whereas that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm actually trying to figure out what they want to move forward on, because here's the thing. They want to move forward on something, right? They want to move forward on something. It may or may not be what you're offering. But like in terms of, let's say, the real estate market, okay, that property owner, let's say, for example, is going to sell that property and or buy other properties at some point. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, next year, 5 years from now, but at some point they're going to move forward and do something, right? And so my job at that point is not necessarily to talk him into doing the deal today. My job is to make him feel comfortable with me so that when the day comes that he wants to move forward with something, then he chooses me as the one to work with. And if you could do that across thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people, right, you're going to get into the situation where you have more business than you can handle right now, right, for the now moment. And what's even farther interesting is the amount of business that you have set up in the future. You just can't see it with your own two eyes yet because the future hasn't come. See what I'm saying? So it's all about database, right? The size of your database of people that are in your database who know who you are, they know what you do, and they know you're here to help. The larger that crowd is, the larger your income is going to be.
I love that, man. And one of your quotes is love the process of helping people. And I think it's so important. So it's something which so many people lack, as you say, people just diving straight into the sale. And it's one thing I get 24/7 is people hit me up on Messenger. And immediately, like off the bat, that they're thinking about what's in it for them, right? So I love that concept of flipping the table back around. And what you touched on there was building that list and really kind of building that exponential growth. So can you talk a little bit to that? Like, how do you build that list out? How do you do that at scale?
It depends on what industry you're in, right? So there's many different, forms of sales. There's many different industries. There's many different products. There's a lot of different angles you can take on this, right? So there's a lot of different things. With real estate, right? For example, real estate is a voice-to-voice business, okay? No one is going to buy a home without talking to someone about the home, right? So like, you're not, it would not be very wise for you or I to just buy a property without looking at it, to buy a property without talking to anyone, right? To buy a property, there could be foundational structural problems that you can't see with the naked eye just looking at pictures online, right? And so that human-to-human contact, it has to happen, and you need a professional on the other side who's consulting that prospect through that process of buying or selling that piece of property. That's just something that has to happen. With other industries, e-commerce and different things, there doesn't have to be any human-to-human contact. It can literally be you saw an ad of a product you want to buy and you clicked a button and you bought that product. You never talked to anyone. You literally did the entire transaction digitally, and somebody made money on the other side. So it depends on what industry we're talking about, and it depends on what products we're selling. So there's so many different things. But at the end of the day, what you have to do is build brand, right? You have to build a brand that people can stand behind, that they actually feel like there's some level of trust, there's some level of security, there's some level of, comfortability. You got to feel comfortable with this transaction that you're fixing to do. So with real estate, my job is to literally, since voice to voice is the key to everything, my job is to talk to as many people as possible in my market to let them know who I am, what I do, and I'm here to help. Capture their contact information, either way it goes, put them in my database, followed by a weekly email on the same day of the week forever, right? And I build my brand that way. That should be the foundation of every personal brand out there, a consistent email. Then build your social media channels and everything on top of that, right? With, say e-commerce or one of these digital type industries, same concept, just minus the voice to voice, right? We're going to put content in front of them, maybe videos, maybe, I don't know, or some kind of content that gives them a sense of trust, and then at that point, we're building a database, right? So if they engage with my content, I can create an audience out of that. If they watch a video, I can create an audience out of that. I can run ads and I can create an audience. I can filter down to people who is engaging and watching my content, and then I can run ads to them. Obviously, they like my content. They trust me. They feel like they feel comfortable, right? And now I can run ads against them for a possible transaction against whatever the product is. But at the end of the day, you have to have a system in place that reaches a certain amount of people, right? And then filters that crowd down to the people who want to work with you, right? And then those people need to get consistent original content, forever, so, and you just build and build and build. So It just depends on what, industry you're in and kind of what your overall objective is, really.
Yeah. I think it's a huge thing that people lack and people miss, especially when they start running ads the first time. They underestimate the fact that really what they're doing is they're buying an asset, right? They're building an asset in that list. And that's what you're saying is the crux of your business. So in terms of building that asset for you, is that, you mentioned ads there, is there an element of cold outreach still, or are you entirely ads and then you filter people in and then you get them onto a conversation when the time is right? How does that lead flow process look for you?
Dude, listen, the lead funnel process for me, for a real estate agent, bro, is literally, you're in the UK, right?
That's right.
I don't think you guys have this specific software, but I'm sure there's some kind of software. There's some place some central location that you can get people's phone numbers who live in your area. Okay. Whatever that process is, right? Here in the US, we have this software called RedX, right? A couple clicks, boom, you get all the contact information of people in a certain subdivision or a certain area. Okay. All I want is people who own the type of properties, contact information that I want to sell. So if I want to sell properties that are $500,000 to $1 million, I'm going to pick a subdivision that has houses that are $500,000 to $1 million. I'm going to grab all their contact information off RedX. I'm going to call every single one of them. I'm just going to call them up and say, hey, it's Ricky Carruth over at eXp Realty. How you doing today? I'm enjoying the day. Isn't it gorgeous? Cool. Look, a house right around the corner just sold from you. And I didn't know if there's anything in the world I could do for you. See, I'm not asking them if they want to buy or sell. I'm giving them information about a house selling around the corner and then asking, followed up by, is there anything in the world I can do for you? No, cool. Is there an agent you would work with if you were to do something? I got you. Well, look, I'm sure at some point down the road, you're going to buy or sell something. I'm sure I would love the opportunity to work with you when that day comes. Would it be all right if I just stayed in touch? Bam, I get all their contact information. Of course, I have their phone number already, but I don't necessarily have their email address and some of these other points of contact that I really want, so that I can continue to build my brand, with those individuals. So, that's the highest quality. There's nothing better because you can get these contacts for 2 cents a piece. And then the email is literally pennies, to send an email out once a week. There's nothing better, man. There's these companies called Zillow and Realtor.com, and there's all these companies over here that will charge you they're charging people like hundreds of dollars for a single contact of a random person in your market's contact information, right? And they're calling it a lead. And these people aren't even ready to buy anything anytime soon. They're just searching online, and Zillow sends the contact information to the agent, for a couple $100. And it's like, man, for a couple $100, you could have got like 10,000, 20,000, phone numbers to people who own the exact property you want to sell.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a crossover there. We've done some work with in the recruitment space as well, and there's a big crossover there. Certainly, a lot of the platforms there, which have become kind of like monoliths in the industry, where people think they can rely on, they think they can get good results from. They're just falling flat. And it sounds like it's the same with you. If people understand this concept of being able to create their own marketing systems, their own marketing funnels, that they can actually own the leads, they're much better quality leads because they're taking them through a process, like you say. So it's fascinating to hear that's a similar kind of crossover into real estate.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And what the funny thing is a lot of people aren't even using it, right? They fall into the trap of thinking that these are high quality leads over here because they cost more, but they're way less quality. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I'm kind of a visionary. I can see things, and when I realize that something is really super efficient and productive, I'm going to go all in.
That's working. So speaking to that, Mike, because you got started pretty young, right? So what was your kind of journey into real estate? How did you get started?
Yeah, man. So I grew up roofing houses with my dad. I started there. And then when I was 20 years old, I actually flunked out of college. I went to 4 different colleges in 2 years. And I just kind of decided I was not going to go that route. So I took the real estate class, got my real estate license. And, I was 20 years old, right? I was still very super young, and took me 8 months to make my first sale. Once I hit my first sale, kind of off to the races. I made a lot of money fast. By the time I was 23, I made $1 million and then lost everything, went completely bankrupt in the crash. So I was sleeping on friends' couches. I was sleeping in my car. I was, back to roofing houses, and I worked on an oil rig for a year. So yeah, during that time, I read like 100 books, and that's when I realized everything, man. I really took a hard look at my business up to that point, and I realized that the reason why I failed was because I was so focused on the deal. I was so focused on just getting deals done. I didn't really too much care about the people necessarily. I mean, I did, but I didn't. It was more about the money I was making and trying to get more deals done. And when you're so focused on that, you kind of lose sight of the bigger picture that each prospect is actually worth 10 to 20 deals to you over the life of your career if you create that deep relationship. And I was just hitting them I was a hit and run kind of agent. I was just hitting them, closing them, running, hitting them, closing them, running. And, you just can't build a sustainable business. It's all about accumulating, man, accumulating relationships. You accumulate relationships over the years, and within 3 to 5 years, as you accumulate these relationships and continue to build your personal brand, your business just explodes out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do, man. And, I'm thinking back to so many situations in my business career so far as well, where, you build friendships with people and you never even know something's going to come from it. And then suddenly one day like that, it just turns into the biggest deal you could possibly imagine. And I think it's because, as you say, you've got that real human connection with them. There was never even any idea of like taking your eye off the ball of the relationship in favor of the deal. So that's huge, man. That's really, really valuable insight. And I think that's transferable to pretty much anything in life, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And then from there, I got back in real estate in 2008 and started building my business the right way. You know what I mean? Like correctly, valuing people, listening to them, trying to really figure out what they're trying to do and trying to figure out how I can help them do it. And I started accumulating these relationships. And by 2014, right, 2014, I became the number one RE/MAX agent in Alabama, and I was selling 100 properties a year. So I've closed 100 deals a year every year since. And in 2017, I wrote those 2 books. I started speaking and writing and coaching and stuff. I became the world's first completely free real estate coach. And it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun. So at this point, I'm kind of half and half. I'm kind of half my time goes into coaching and mentoring and helping other agents all around the world. And the other half, I'm still working on my real estate business and helping people buy and sell properties. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
That's wicked, man. It's great to hear that, you've turned that full circle and you're helping other people do that. So speaking to that, when you think about your best students, like what is the difference between somebody who succeeds and somebody who fails in real estate based on what you see nowadays?
I think the number one thing is confidence, man. People just aren't confident, either in themselves or in the market itself, or, they just don't believe, that I think that's the biggest thing that I see with people that don't make it is they're caught up in the minutia of just not believing in themselves, like they're scared to talk to people because they don't want to sound dumb, right? It's like nobody expects you to know everything. Like you don't have to know everything. I was telling an agent the other day, it's like, she's worried about sounding dumb. And I said, well, you could spend all these hours studying and trying to memorize all these facts that you think you might need to know in case somebody asks you, and then show up to the meeting. And then what? They'll ask you a question you didn't prepare for, because you're never going to know everything. So in my mind, it's like going to every situation knowing that if you do get a question you don't know the answer to, be honest with them. Say, listen, let me figure that answer out. I'll get right back to you, or whatever the case may be. People are just scared, man. It's literally, the number one factor is just fear and confidence. Their confidence level is so low for whatever reason, and because of fear and confidence, right? It paralyzes them from taking action. It paralyzes them and freezes them in place where they don't take the actions necessary to succeed, man. Let me tell you something about real estate, bro. You have to be all in from day one. You're like behind. Every day you're trying to catch up. You have to be so full steam ahead to even survive, in your first year. It's like 87% of real estate agents fail, in their first year. 87%. It's a massive number. So, I just think that people, they get caught up in the minutia, they get overwhelmed, they're scared, they're not confident. And because of all that, they just don't take action. And before they know it, they can't pay their bills and they gotta quit.
Yeah. It reminds me, as you were speaking, reminds me of a really good quote. I think from a guy called Myron Golden. I don't know whether he was the originator of this quote, but you gotta be willing to suck at something long enough to become good at it, right? You gotta go through that crap and like be willing to be crap before you actually get to the goal, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. That's the thing, dude. Everybody starts at nothing, right? Everybody started at zero, and worked their way up. Everybody. So you're not just going to walk into a situation where now you just know everything. You're super confident. No, everybody walks into the same situation of, not necessarily knowing everything or being confident, and you have to face those fears, right? You have to you have to lean into those actions that make you nervous. Right. And you have to become numb to that feeling. And then you have to power through it and just keep moving through the actions that are going to get you where you want to be. And most people just can't stomach it, man. I'll tell you what, a lot of people, they work really hard. And what happens is they run into their first loss. Like they had this deal going, say it was going to be their first deal and something goes wrong and it doesn't work out. They can't handle it. Like they can't stomach that feeling. They're just like, they're crushed and they can't handle it. Whereas on the other side of the coin, winners understand the amount of losses it takes to win. It takes so many losses to actually get to the W's that most people just can't, weather the amount of losses you actually have to take, So I think that winners just they have the stomach it takes to absorb those losses, because they take a loss and they think, okay, that was cool, right? I learned something, right? And now I have more to more knowledge and more experience on my next deal, and they take that loss and turn it into a W.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think everything worth having in life is on the other side of a wall of some kind of pain or adversity. I think that's just, when people get that into their head and just start powering through, it's like a game changer. It's like $1 million advice you just given like that. So that brings full circle really nicely, actually, to a point. The last 6 months that shall remain unnamed. What do you think that, like, for real estate, for people getting started, like people maybe thinking about getting into it, what do you think that kind of that does to the landscape? Would you be confident going into it fresh right now?
100%, man, 100%. See, here's the thing, bro. People aren't going away, right? People aren't going away. The market has been incredibly resilient. Okay. So if you look back through the pandemic and you look at the amount of real estate closings that were happening during the scariest moment, right? This is one of the scariest moments we've had in the last 100 years. And people, we couldn't even have human to human contact, and people were still closing deals, right? That's how resilient the real estate market is. Even a pandemic where it prevents human contact doesn't even stop real estate transactions from happening. Not only that, but the amount of properties that were going under contract, people that were coming to agreements on properties and going under contract and ratifying contracts to close during the pandemic. So we had closings happening during the pandemic and new contracts being drawn up and accepted during the pandemic. And then after the shutdown in May, when the economy opened back up, it was like the gold rush. I mean, it was like it was an explosion, man. It was such a surge in the real estate market. May was one of the busiest Mays I've ever seen. And, the whole year has been great. I mean, I'm going into the last part of the year with a massive amount of deals under contract and going into 2021. So no, man, well, I think what newer agents need to realize about situations like this is that closings never stop, right? Closings never stop. And if you really look hard at this situation and realize the amount of transactions that have happened this year, even with, such a scary year on so many different levels, it should give you a sense of security coming into the business. Like, wow, if real estate continues through a year like 2020, then, I'm set. Like, it's never going to stop. If it doesn't stop this year, it's never going to stop, kind of thing. And you just need to go all in and realize it's not about the transactions. It's about how many people, how many relationships can you accumulate? How many people can you talk to? How many people can you have a great conversation with, right? And put into your database to receive weekly emails forever on the same day of the week and build that brand up over the next couple of years, right? How many people, how many relationships can we accumulate?
That's amazing, man. $1 million advice. So anyone thinking about getting started, can you help them? Do you have resources they can go to?
100%, man, 100%. I'm actually in the UK, right? Our brokerage, EXP, we're in the UK. So we're in UK, we're in Australia, we're in Canada, US, we're in South Africa, we're in India, we're fixing to be in Mexico and Portugal. Agents in any of these countries can actually join my team and I'll work with them directly, right? So that's one part of it. Another part of it is they can go to my website, 0todiamond.com, 0todiamond.com, spelled out in words. That's my free coaching platform, right? Where they can go there and download all the action plans and watch videos of me making calls and calling live prospects and learn everything about my weekly email. And there's tutorials and all kinds of things there, right? So they can go there. They can also grab copies of my books and watch YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. I also answer every single message on Instagram. So if anyone listening has a question for me or just wants to say hi or anything I can do to help you, feel free to reach out on Instagram at Ricky Carruth, and I'll be glad to help you there as well.
That's wicked, man. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for sharing. Like, all of the advice that you've given today has been so transferable to so many different industries. So I really appreciate that, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll add all of those details that Ricky's just spoken about to the podcast notes, so that you can find your way there. Thanks so much, Ricky.
Yeah, man. Enjoyed it, but appreciate it.
Thanks.
This has been the Viral by Design podcast with Dave Rotherow. For more viral marketing secrets and to get detailed cliff notes on all episodes, visit viralbydesign.net.